Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ochakde Show. We're Silicon Valley's first business podcast for teens, hosted by a teen. I'm Sanchan, a 17-year-old award-winning entrepreneur and podcaster from the Bay Area, and I interview remarkable and influential entrepreneurs, executives, and investors from all walks of life so we can learn from their stories and level up ourselves. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of 3doshas.com. We're a coaching company transforming life through coaching principles inspired by 3doshas energies. The purpose of this show is to inspire you to go for it, which is what the Punjabi word ochakde means. Today, our very special guest is Sanchan Saxena. I'm really excited, guys. Sanchan has an illustrious career in Silicon Valley. Most recently, he was the vice president at Coinbase. And then before that, he was a general manager and head of product at Airbnb. He was also part of Instagram during the early days. And this is not a lie. He was part of Instagram when they made $0 in revenue. So you probably are already going to watch to the end now after hearing that. He also led teams that built Instagram shopping and creator tools for influencers. In addition, he's an investor, executive coach, founder, and board member. So, Sanchan, super excited to have you on the show, man. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show. I've watched you and your episodes a lot. I've known you for a year now. So I'm excited to be here and share with the audience everything that's top of mind.
Hey guys, I want to talk about something about my mentor and friend who you may know, Lloyd Lobo, because I actually interviewed him on the show. He released a book that became a Wall Street Journal bestseller. The book is From Grassroots to Greatness: 13 Rules to Build Iconic Brands with Community-Led Growth. He's curated wisdom from both big brands and hyper-growth startups, including Apple, Atlassian, CrossFit, Harley Davidson, HubSpot, Nike, Red Bull, and many more to teach you to build an audience and turn it into a community and movement. I personally find all the art and like the design and format on this book super catchy. I think we can all learn from the graphic design that was used in here and how Lloyd and his team were able to make this a masterpiece. There's a quote by Lloyd that I really like. It goes, yesterday's innovation becomes tomorrow's commodity. But if you build a community, you won't become a commodity. So think about that. That's spot on. I really love that quote. If you want to get a copy, you can go to fromgrassrootstogreatness.com or just go to Amazon and search up From Grassroots to Greatness. Enjoy the episode, guys.
Awesome. Let's do it. So, I would love to start off by asking, can you describe your career, your career journey to the audience? And like, where did you
Yeah, happy to
start?
go.
Yeah,
Go
where
ahead.
did you start? Where did you start? And like, how did you get to where you are today and everything like that?
Yeah, my career journey started back in 2005 when I came to the US. I was actually raised in India, and I came to the US in 2005. And the funny part of the story is that I have been the guy who's, if you look at my career trajectory, cannot be connected naturally. For example, I studied aerospace engineering in undergrad. Now, aerospace engineering and what I'm doing today are completely different things. I was raised in India. Now I'm in Silicon Valley. I started off as an engineer, but then I moved into product and business roles as well. So a lot of the things that I've done were all tied together by the spirit of curiosity. And I was very curious. I wanted to learn about new things and the spirit of experimentation. I tried something. Sometimes it worked out. That was awesome. Sometimes it didn't work out, so I pivoted and tried something else. For example, when I was doing my aerospace engineering, I still remember such an Kalpana Chawla, who was the first Indian to go into space,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
unfortunately, she died in the disaster. She was from my college, and she was an
Oh, wow.
inspiration. I went to the same college that she went to in India, called Punjab Engineering College,
College, yeah.
and I went to the same program, aerospace engineering, and I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. But midway through that journey, I realized, man, I'm never going to be as good of an aerospace engineer. There's some good things I have, not so good things that I have. And I learned that about me. And that was the whole point of curiosity chasing aerospace engineering, and then experimentation trying to help me understand whether this will be a good fit or not and whether I should continue that. Fast forward a few years, I started my own company. It was out of curiosity. I wanted to solve a problem and I wanted to see if I can do it. Didn't work out after 2.5 years, and that was an amazing learning experience. And then I realized, okay, what do I want to do next? And then I came to Silicon Valley, and my first job was at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And again, in everybody's career, there's an inflection point that propels them forward very fast. And my inflection point was when I joined Instagram, followed by Airbnb and followed by Coinbase. For the audience, when I joined Instagram, it made $0 in revenue. I still remember a meeting where Kevin's sister was like, man, I don't know if ads are the right things for my product. I don't know if we should do it. But we had a top-down mandate from the CFO and Zuck to go build $1 billion in revenue in 365 days. So think about it. You have an app that's doing really well, but you have $0 in revenue. You got to scale that to $1 billion, but all
That's
you got
crazy.
is 365 days, no worries, no pressure. So we all huddled together, build the team, build the product, and we exited that year with achieving that goal. But those were super early days, for your audience. There was no Instagram shopping back then. There was not a lot of creator tools back then. So I helped bootstrap a team called Instagram Shopping, where we actually today you can see that you can go and buy stuff on Instagram. It's called visual commerce and all that stuff. That's when it started. Build a lot of creator tools, and then I left to join Airbnb. I was the head of product and general manager for Airbnb Plus. Did a bunch of stuff over there as well. Went through the COVID crisis as well. If you guys remember, it was a crazy time during COVID. And then last few years I spent at Coinbase, where I was a VP, vice president of product, running multiple things. But the last thing that I ran over there was the retail business. So if you've ever opened up a retail account, ever opened up a Coinbase account, you've interacted with our products, things like trading, staking, NFTs, and a bunch of other things. And for the last 1 year, I've just been chilling, taking a little bit of a chill pill. When you do that kind of a career, you need a little bit of time for yourself, your family. Otherwise, life passes you by quickly. So I've been just chilling, trying to invest on the board of Super and other companies, and just working with founders to see what's next.
Well, you've been chilling, but there's one thing I'm super grateful. You've been giving me mentorship, and I really appreciate that. You've been helping me grow my podcast. You've given me advice. You've helped me make a pitch deck. We've gotten on multiple calls. So yes, you said in the interview in this recording that we know each other for a year, I think, right?
Yeah.
I've known Sanchan for a year. Dude, honestly, one of the coolest mentors I have, because he's always there. You can send him a text and he replies to me sometimes in 3 seconds. So it's amazing. So I appreciate it, man. I love it. Thank
We
you.
should
Um,
we should tell your audience your story. How you
I
reached out
will.
to me on LinkedIn.
No, okay, we have to talk about that, because there are other people like Mark Suster that I did the same thing to, and they said in the interview, you better tell the audience how this is even happening. Guys, let me just explain it now. I have an obsession, okay? I have a weird obsession with cold emailing and cold calling people. So what I did is I was looking for angel investors for my podcast, and I saw Sanchan was local. Um, I saw that he was Punjabi, and it's obviously the Ochakde show, which was another thing. And I saw that he has, I mean, phenomenal corporate level like executive experience. So I'm like, let me try to find his number online, and let me see if I can call him and ask him if he can help me out and give me mentorship and advice to grow and fund my podcast. And I got his number. It was the right guy. He's like, this is Sanchan. Who is this? I'm like, I'm Sachin. We have a similar name, and I need help from you. And he's like, you know what? Let's do it. And then from there, it just worked. It's literally like, you might think it's weird. Why would a 16-year-old, I'm 17 now, want to connect with someone on the internet that they barely know is a stranger? But guys, business is business. If you see a mentor and you see someone that you truly look up to, go for it. It's what Ochakde means, to just reach out, and 99% of the people will help you. And Sanchan has been a great support for me. He actually didn't only help me, he got other people. Ijaz is another one of my mentors, and he's been able to connect me with others. He's been able to give me guest recommendations. I mean, it's been an amazing journey. But Sanchan, I'd love to ask, there's been so many twists and turns in your story. I mean, it's really fascinating to hear someone like you, like, who's tried so many different things. You did fail at some of the stuff, but you succeeded at others. You seem to like defy the odds of conventional advice and not taking a straight route to success. You definitely did not take the regular, just stay at one company and keep grinding and go to. You've been to, like, you started a company, and then you worked at like major companies, like 4 or 5 other companies, like Coinbase, Instagram, Yahoo, Microsoft. So you didn't stay at one company. What advice can you give to people like me by navigating our life and career ahead?
Yeah, I think if one thing I'll share is it is important to recognize that all advice should be taken with a grain of salt, including the advice that I'm going to give you. Why is that? Because oftentimes most people's advice comes from their experience and what they had the opportunity to see. So you should definitely ask for advice, take mentorship, etc. But remember, you are you, and that's the biggest thing that I learned in my career, in my life, is that I never diluted who I am to become somebody else. I was on a journey to discover myself. I was on a journey to understand, who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? And what is it that gives me energy to thrive? So instead of looking at the average of all the successful people and say, I gotta be like that, it was all about, okay, what gives me energy? What are my superpowers? What can I do better? What can I be good at? And how can I become world class at what I'm doing that? And the path to doing that, Sachin, is curiosity and hustle.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about both of those things. Let's talk about curiosity for a second. I can assure all of you who's watching this podcast, when you were 16 or 14 or 12 or 10, you didn't know what you wanted to be when you grow up. Let's just be real. Like, very few people are born and know, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. I actually don't know any. But what they do is through the process of curiosity and discovery, they go out there and try different things. In the process of trying different things, they stumble upon something that gives them amazing energy. And then they pursue that. And by virtue of pursuing that, they discover something new that gives them energy. Then they pursue that. And that's how great life and great career is built. I still remember in my high school, Sachin, we used to have these 2.5 month summer breaks. And my dad brought me this book that I really wanted to read called Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. And that one book changed my perspective at that time. And I fell in love with being an aerospace engineer. I wanted to go to space. I wanted to be the guy who goes in space, does something crazy. I was very fascinated by physics. Now, fast forward, when I pursued that curiosity, I realized that there are certain things that I don't like, and there are certain things that don't give me energy. And that's how I pivoted. So my biggest suggestion to you, Sachin, is, you're doing whatever you're doing. I'm pretty sure when you were 10, you didn't want to be a podcaster. You didn't even know what podcasting
No,
was.
I did not.
But you tried it, right?
Yeah.
You had a curiosity, you tried it, and it clicked, and you liked doing it, and you don't like doing certain aspects of this. Who knows 10 years from now what you would be doing? You might be building a media empire. You might be doing a tech startup. Who knows, right? But the thing that is amazing about you and other successful people is that they chase their curiosity. 2, they are extremely good at pivoting when things don't work out. One of the things, Sachin, that I tell people is that if something doesn't work out, take 5 minutes to be remorseful about it, introspect about it, maybe an hour at best, learn from it, but then never look at it.
Okay.
Then never look at it. Because I've seen so many people who are afraid of failure because it's so much so that they're paralyzed for even attempting to do anything. And what happens is when 1 or 2 failures happen, they spend so much of their energy dissecting it, getting remorseful about it, that they lose their energy to take another swing at the fences. So the second thing I want to tell you is that no matter what happens with your podcast, no matter what happens with your startup, no matter what happens with your career job, you got to have the ability to bounce back and bounce back quickly. Right?
Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes, but don't get wallowed in, man. I hate people who wallow in their misery and like, oh my God, this happened. I don't know what to do about it. No, dude, you got to keep going. You got to keep hustling through that. That brings me to the third point, hustle, which is what you also did, Sachin. I remember getting on the call with you first time. I was like, why does this guy want to do what he wants to do? He has a high school to go to, he has grades to accomplish, and a bunch of other things to do so. But you had a hustle. I remember sending you the Steve Jobs video where he said, he called the founder of HP just to try out a few things, and it delivered him the equipment to try it out, right? And the fact that you hustled your way through, you didn't take no for an answer. I'm pretty sure you talked to probably 20 other people before me who said no, and you chatted with me and I said yes. That hustle and grind is incredibly important for anybody to become anything successful in life. And look where you are today. You're interviewing some of the best people in the industry. You're raising funding for your podcast and stuff, and you're learning through that, man. Those are the things that I'll tell everybody, is that please remember to take advice with a grain of salt. Just because your dad did it, just because your mom did it, just because your brother did it, just because some executive did it, didn't mean you should do it. And 2, go out there with curiosity. 3, try things out, pivot if they don't work out, don't be remorseful, learn from that, quickly bounce back. And 4, just hustle, man. Hustle, the definition of hustle. Let's tell your audience, what does hustle mean? Hustle means in the absence of predictability, in the absence of resources, you still will things into existence. A lot of times I meet people, and by the way, this is true in corporate culture too, Sachin. You'll meet employees who say, oh, I can't deliver this product because I don't have resources. I don't have engineers, I don't have this and that. Let me tell you this. In life, very rarely resources are a problem. Being resourceful is the problem. Right? Okay. Do you have that in you or not? And that's the definition of hustle that I'd encourage you and your audience to follow through.
You're a great speaker. I mean, this is not like the traditional advice that I get from like the teens get from our teachers, our parents. We don't really hear this stuff. the thing about you is you say it and you say it direct and you say it spot on, like, and it actually makes sense. Like, I think some of the people overdo it. Like, I actually get everything you're saying. I say I believe in the same stuff and I tell my friends everything. And that's why I love you, man, because we have such a like-minded mindset and everything. Even though we're so different, like in ages, like, or because you're way older than me and I'm younger, and we do different things, is we have the same mindset. And I think if all business people, entrepreneurs, podcasters, content creators, whatever you want to be, a singer or whatever, you have that same mindset, you'll succeed. And I think Sunshine has showed that from all the stuff he's done. When you were a teenager, if you remember, what's the best advice you ever received and how did it change your life?
Yeah, man. I mean, this again goes back to me being extremely lucky. By the way, everything that I've accomplished in my life, I feel I've been extremely lucky and blessed. I was at the right place at the right time, and that ties back to the advice I also got. And that's probably the reason when I implemented that advice in my life, I also was able to manifest the things that I have in my life. And the advice goes something like this. Oftentimes, Sachin, you hear people say, you're starting a podcast, Sachin, you're starting a new company. Do me a favor. Think about the worst case scenario and make sure that you have a plan B. Make
I've
sure
heard
you've
that.
thought
I've
through
heard that.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Right. And what does that advice make you do? You become a little bit nervous, you become a little bit scared because you're now worried about what will happen if things don't work out. I have a lot of friends, by the way, who are at Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and they want to leave to go to the next startup that is exciting for them. But they get paralyzed because they start thinking, what if the startup doesn't work out? Right? And their thought, their energy, their focus goes on, what if things don't work out? My advice to everybody is take that same energy, same amount of time, same amount of energy, and put that into imagining what if this startup, this initiative works out beyond your wildest fucking imaginations. You can bleep that out.
No, I'm gonna keep that. Can I keep it?
Yes, you
I'm
can
gonna
keep
keep
it.
it. I'm gonna keep
Yes.
it. I'm gonna keep it.
Like imagine what if this thing that you're doing, whether it's the podcast, going to college, starting a company, getting this job, what if it works out beyond your bloody wildest imagination? Not the worst case scenario. What if it doesn't work out? Change your energy, change the amount of time, energy, resources you're spending on imagining the best case scenario rather than the worst case scenario. And when you do that, I promise you a couple of things will happen. One, you will take that action. You're not going to have paralysis analysis, right? Two, you're going to manifest those ideas that you're thinking about in your life. If you focus your energy on the negative outcomes, you're going to manifest negative outcomes. But if you focus your energy on the positive outcomes, things that are possible to do, I promise you in your life, you're going to start manifesting those things in your life. I was this little kid living in a city called Saharanpur. For your
Yeah.
audience who's from India, they will understand that it's a very small town in Uttar Pradesh, one of the
Yeah.
states in India. There are probably 80,000 people or less over there. And by the way, when India has 80,000 people and it has 1.4 billion things, that city is tiny. Just remember that. It's a very tiny city, right? But I had this passion and dream to get to Silicon Valley, to work in technology, to do something around that. And that slowly and slowly, thinking about that positive outcome rather than thinking about, man, nobody before me has done that. Nobody has done this before. There's no clear path in that, or it will not happen. Rather focusing on how that can happen will make it happen. So that's the best advice I can give you. Think about the best case scenario, the wildest possible case scenario about everything you're doing, and stop worrying about the worst case scenario thinking.
I have a question. Okay, this is beautiful stuff because this stuff fires me up. I'm gonna be energized for like a week now after rewatching this recording. But um, who taught you all this stuff? Like, was it your parent? Did you have a mentor? Like how you're my mentor and I have other mentors? Or where did you get all this knowledge from as a kid in India?
Yeah, I mean, my parents, my dad was a doctor. He worked with the
Okay.
government of India, and my mom was a housewife, taking care of us, growing us, giving us all the education, and
Yeah.
taking care of all the needs that we had. So I was very lucky that in my family I had two people who embodied some of these ideals. Then I also seeked out mentorship, just like you. I would randomly reach out to people and say, hey, I know you're good at this,
It's in the
just
blood.
give me 20 minutes of your time. I want to learn about that. So I always tell people, it is almost impossible, my friend, to do everything on your own. It is almost impossible. There is a myth that you're a self-made person. There is no such thing. Different people during your life came in and gave you advice, nuggets, and support that resulted in where you are today. The other thing I'll say is I was a voracious reader, man. Growing
Okay.
up, many people my age, and when I was used to read fiction books. Can I tell you something? I have never ever I've never read a single fiction book in my life. I've never bought one. What I used to do was I would go to these markets in India where they would have Xerox copies of some of the best books in the world. Xerox as they would photocopy that shit out because it's so expensive that an
Yeah.
Indian in India could not buy that shit back in the day. So I would buy it for like 10 rupees, but the book is actually hundreds of dollars. And again,
Yeah.
in many regards, that's not the right thing to do, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. So I'll go into these small markets and buy these. So I read things like Habits of Highly Effective People, manifestation books, other books as well. And I can tell you, the best books I read were autobiographies or biographies of people. And I wanted to understand what was the mental state of these people. What was the philosophical mindset that they had when they were doing things? I didn't want to learn their skill set, by the way, Sachin. I'll tell you another thing to my audience. Don't focus too much on learning Python, SQL Server, AI, backend stuff. Yes, you should know about them, but that is only going to get you to so far. What you want to know is the people who are really great at that, what's their mindset? How do they operate? How do they
I
show up
agree,
every
man.
single
I
day?
agree. I agree.
Right? That's the thing to pick on. Not that they have a three-pointer like Steph Curry that's world class. Yeah, you should probably learn three-pointer skills as well. But think about Steph Curry's mindset and learn that instead. And that's what books taught me.
Yeah. Speaking of books, this is the sponsor for my new sponsor. This is book right here. Grassroots to Greatness. I think reading I need to work on that, man, because I think all successful people read. I need to start reading books, but I do agree that biographies, when you read a story about somebody's life and about that, when you see yourself like in their shoes, like, okay, they were able to do that and they have the same mindset as me, you get more fired up than just what you said. You said you never read a fiction book, right?
I never read a fiction book. I just couldn't take a 300-page novel and read about people's love stories or life and other things
I
like
I,
that.
I agree, man. I can't do
you
that
know
stuff.
I did read a little bit of Star Wars kind of stuff, but not
Okay,
a whole
okay.
lot. But that was again in the passing. I never bought a book. I never spent my personal money. I might have borrowed it from the library, but I never spent my personal money on a book like that. I would always spend my personal money, whatever little I had, on buying business books, on buying psychology books, on buying history books, and learning about people's autobiographies and biographies, etc. And the first book that really, really influenced me was Losing My Virginity. This is a guy in the UK.
What? Wait,
It's called Losing
what?
My Virginity.
Why
Google
is
it
it
right now
called
and show it
that?
to your audience. It's called Losing My Virginity. It's a book by Richard Branson.
Oh, he's a legend. I love that guy.
He's a legend. And I read this when I was like maybe 12 years old. I don't know, like very young, you
That
know.
way, Sanchan, that's kind of weird. Why are you reading books about losing my virginity at 12 years old?
12, 14, something like that. I was very young. And I read all this stuff because I wanted to know who is this guy who has built an empire. And
Okay,
the
yeah,
more I read about him, the more I got inspired. He was dyslexic, he had
yeah,
ADHD, he was
yeah.
kicked out of school, he spent a night in jail. I was like, how can that person become so successful? So my curiosity said, okay, let me buy his book and see what's going on, right? So these are examples of books that I've read. There's another book called Maverick. This is a steel
Yeah.
tycoon in Brazil. I wanted to read how the heck did he do that? Then, of course, Bill Gates was another inspiration that I read. And again, my point is, whoever it is, I wanted to diversify my perspective because one thing I learned after reading about so many people, about reading about so many business books, people's books, etc., is that there's no one way to success. The biggest mistake you can make is to believe that there is an ideal path to success. There are as many success stories as there are successful people. What do I mean by that? There are different types of success outcomes, and there are different types of people who have accomplished that. So just stay true to yourself, learn from these people, learn from their mindset and strength, but then go on to do what you want to do and pursue that.
100% spot on. I love it. Let's switch gears and talk about corporate world again. You've
Yeah.
managed large teams, driven billion-dollar revenue charters at some of the most iconic Silicon Valley companies. Reflecting on your career at many companies, what was the most crazy, fun, and exciting achievement you've ever had, resulting in massive personal and company-wide success? Maybe something
I
on
mean,
Instagram or I don't know.
yeah. Well, there are many at different points in my career. I can give a little bit of nuggets from each of these companies. I remember when I joined Instagram, we were much smaller. I think we were less than 100 employees, to be honest, like that small. We
And
made
$0 in revenue?
$0 in revenue, man.
That's
There were
crazy. So it
no
was a startup. You joined when it was a startup.
I mean, it was acquired. It had already been acquired by Facebook at that time, but it still had $0 in revenue. You know, in Silicon Valley parlance, we say get product market fit first, then grow the product, and then add on revenue at the right time. And that we were at that stage where we wanted to add revenue. So the crazy story is there are multiple from Instagram, and I'll pick two. One of the stories is that we got a top-down mandate around building an ad product, and I kid you not, man, when we launched the ad product, the first few ads that ran on Instagram, Kevin Systrom personally approved them. So the head of the lady, I forget her name, who was running business operations at that time, she would print out the ads that advertisers want to run on Instagram, put it on Kevin Systrom's desk. He will review them and say, no, I don't want this. I want this. No, I don't want this. I want this. That's how small and crazy of an idea is how ads started on Instagram. And this is an example of understanding founders and founders' mindsets. Founders have created this baby called Instagram as an example, and they are very particular about what happens on that platform. And I want to tell people is that someone can look at that and say, oh man, founders meddle too much in the day-to-day operations, etc. No, I actually consider founders to be your superpower. Actually go out to your founders and leverage them, because they have instincts, they have deep understanding of the product that nobody else has. And your job is to not ask them to not meddle with you, but rather ask them, how can we together do this better, and use their superpower. The second example I'll give you is Instagram shopping. I mean, I remember we saw people in Southeast Asia, were buying stuff on Instagram, and they were messaging each other. So Sachin will saw something on Instagram, will message that vendor saying, oh my God, I love those flip-flops. Can I have them? It's like, sure, give me your PayPal address and I'll ship it to you. That's how it was happening. So the key lesson that I want people to know is that more often than not, when you build a product, you generally build it to solve one use case or two use cases in general. But then what happens is your customers take your product and twist and use it in ways that you cannot even imagine. Right? So that's what happened. We never built Instagram for shopping or commerce, but our customers, our businesses and individual users started using it in ways that we never thought it should be designed for. And our real genius was to understand that instinct of those customers and say, okay, we're going to double down on it. And now we're going to build a product so this community can thrive on Instagram as well. And that's what we did. We launched Instagram shopping, became hugely successful. At Airbnb, I can tell you some crazy stories over there as well. I remember we used to get calls from celebrities. By the way, for the audience that doesn't know, Airbnb has regular Airbnb, meaning you can book anything. Then you have Airbnb Plus, and then you have Airbnb Lux, high-end homes as well, right? So funny stories is, you're building these products, but your customers could be very powerful and very influential, and they are willing to spend. So I remember getting calls from Brian and others saying, hey, we need to find a home for Beyonce and some of these other celebrities who want to stay in an Airbnb home that is beautiful, right? So an example of a product when it catches product market fit, when you have something that is really loved by the community, you're going to get a lot of exposure and experience around that. So those were some examples of the different times that I had. And again, to contextualize this for people, we grew smaller teams, smaller products to billion-dollar revenues and hundreds of thousands of employees around there. And that's the fun part of being in Silicon Valley. You can take a small idea, build something, see what happens, and then scale it to billions of dollars in revenue and hundreds of employees.
I'm a big fan of Silicon Valley. Actually, I'm a senior in high school now, so I've already applied to all the colleges I want to. I have to wait till March to now hear back from all of them, but I've made a decision that I want to stay in the Bay Area because it's just the Silicon Valley, man. If I want to be a podcaster and entrepreneur, why would I leave the Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah. You are at the right place at the right time. This is what I talk about, like luck, right? I mean, people. Let me explain to your audience what luck is. I was born in India, right? I had to come. I was raised in India, so I had to come all the way up to Silicon Valley. You are lucky. You are right here.
I'm here.
Capitalize on this shit.
Of course, and I think that's the plan.
Right? You should absolutely capitalize. Now, of course, when you have a different aspiration, you have to change things. So, for example, if you told me, Sachin, I want to be an actor, I would say, leave Silicon Valley, go to LA, man. You're not going to become an actor from Silicon Valley. Or you can, but the probability will be very low, right? And if you want to be in finance, for example, go to New York, right? Or London, right? So I think the key thing here that you're saying is very important to understand is you know what you want to do because you followed your curiosity, you discovered what you like, and now this is what you want to pursue. And you now need to make all the decisions based on that. Doesn't matter where your friends are going. Let them go to MIT, Harvard, Oxford, whatever. Who cares, right? The point is, you know your passion, you pursue it, and do what's right for you.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about young. I was talking about college apps and all. I was talking about college and all the young people are engaged. Let's get back to making the young people happy. So, I think typically when you go to college, it's like after sophomore year, maybe freshman year, you want to get an internship. How can you go as an intern at a company and rise to like a VP level? Like, what is the process of rising through the ranks? And then also, have you observed the common traits of an individual that helps them climb the corporate ladder faster than the rest?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question, and I think all of you will probably, at one point in time or the other, will have to figure out, assuming you go in the corporate world, is to figure out the traits, the mindsets, and things that you need to follow through to be incredibly successful. So I will tell you this, a couple of things. Number one, uh, the entry door starts with having skills. Just to be very clear, you need to know how to code. Otherwise you can't be an engineer, right? I mean, there's no stopping you from doing that. You have to learn how to code. If you want to be a marketer, you know how to tell great stories and build brand marketing around them, right? And then, so my point to everybody is, if you want to get an internship, if you want to get the first job, the skills will get you in the door. And you can learn those skills in many ways. You can learn those skills in college. You can learn those skills online on YouTube. YouTube is a vast repository of
Yeah.
amazing skills to
Yeah.
learn from, right? But then you have to quickly understand that what got you here won't get you there. If your goal is to rise to the corporate rank, get to the C-suite, you have to understand that the skills will only get you maybe 1/4 of the way. What are the other things that you need to do? I would describe those things into a few buckets. The number one thing is your ability to learn. I will tell you that when you do aerospace engineering and then you go on to technology, then you go to Silicon Valley, then you go engineering, product, etc. The thing that helped me the most was my ability to unlearn and learn new things. And that is incredibly important. So if I will tell you one thing to master, Sachin, is your ability to learn new things with zero experience in them. When I got into crypto and Web3, I had to learn what those things are. I still remember my team telling me, "Oh, you don't know anything about crypto. How are you going to survive here?" 6 months later, those same people were telling me, "Man, you know way more than me in crypto, and I've been here for 8 years," right? I think the point that I'm trying to make is be the fastest learner in your career, and you will thrive a lot. The second thing I'll tell you is that work on your mindset. If you want to get a coach, if you're LeBron James, you're able to dunk in, do all that stuff amazingly. I mean, you still need your mental state to be amazing, your mindset to be amazing. You're going to take 9,000 shots and you're only going to get 20 in the basket. You're going to play hundreds of games, only going to win a few. But your mindset is what helps you get up from where you were to where you need to be. So I highly encourage people to work on their mindset. And mindset is basically how you feel, how you behave, what are the values you have, what are the assumptions you have that are leading to that mindset. And the mindset of growth is really important. There's one book that I highly recommend all 16-year-olds who are listening or 17-year-olds who are listening right now. It's a book from I think Daryl Kwok. It's about grit. I'll put a link later on. And what she has done research on is to understand that it's not your intelligence, it's not your skills that matter in life. What matters is your grit. Now, grit is your ability to grind things through even when they're not going in your favor.
Yeah.
That is incredibly important. That resiliency mindset and that growth mindset is incredibly important for you to be successful. So those are the things I would say people have to do. And soft skills, man. When you go to engineering school, they teach you physics, math, and all that stuff, but they don't teach you a lot of soft skills. Same thing in many other programs as well. So my philosophy to people is to remind them that your interpersonal skills, your skills to collaborate, connect with other individuals, inspire them, motivate them, make you want to work for them, like they want to work for you. Those are the things that are really important as well. And while you're in college, while you're in high school, do start reading books, watch YouTube videos on how to build those skills as well. Because those are going to be equally important as your hard skills of being able to code, being able to draw, being able to paint, whatever that hard skill is, that'll be responsible for your success.
Amazing. We have so many similar beliefs. And I know you've kind of already, well, as we wrap up here, these are the last two questions that I asked all my guests. You kind of already answered this one, but the first one is what's your best advice for teens around the world watching this right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, the best advice is that I'll give you is be you,
Be you, be you.
you just be you, man. I mean, when you're a teenager, you are bombarded with information and opinions from everywhere. You're like, oh, I should be like this. Oh, I'm supposed to be like this. Oh, I'm supposed to be like that, right? And I'm here to tell you, man, you're not supposed to be anybody but like you. Now, that doesn't mean you don't learn and grow. Of course, everybody has to learn and improve and grow, right? But the core of you has to stay you. You know, the biggest mistake you can make is to become an engineer in Silicon Valley because other engineers are making a lot of money, right? Is to become a founder because some founder became a billionaire or became famous.
Yeah.
Or to become a basketball player because you love LeBron James and you think you want to be a LeBron James. You only do that because if that's you, that you have certain unique abilities, unique skills, unique passions that you want to pursue. And there's nothing wrong in doing that. But if you want to be a painter, be a painter, you know, it's okay. You know, the point is be you. And I promise you, the next 10 years from the age of 17 to 27 will help you discover who you truly are. And then you can pick on what you want to do. The second advice I want to give you is live with an abundance mindset. You know, when I was growing up, and I'm pretty sure, Sachi, when your parents were growing up, the previous generation, you know, we all grew up in a very scarcity mindset. What is scarcity? There are only so many jobs. There's only so many resources in this world. There's only so much money to go around in this world. And scarcity was the way to think about things, you know, and you had to optimize your way in scarcity. Today's generation is living in a world of abundance. You know, someone from a very small town can put up a YouTube video, become viral, and go big. Someone in Timbuktu can start a company and has all the resources that anybody else has, you know, in terms of AWS, infrastructure, etc., and build something amazing, right? So the fundamental shift that has happened in this century, such in my mind, is an abundance of resources, abundance of everything. You know, you can look at that and say, oh, there's scarcity, but you can also look at it and change your perspective and say there's a lot of abundance. So your mindset now has to change, Sachin, from being scarcity optimizer to being an abundance manifester.
Ooh,
And I
that
want
was
you,
good. That was
right?
good.
I want you to start thinking, man, anything is possible. There's so much abundance. There's crypto, there's AI, there's travel, there's this. There's no scarcity. You know, when I was growing up, if in India, if you didn't become a doctor or an engineer, you didn't make a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
You know? But now that's not the case, you know. You can do whatever the heck you want, you know. So my point is, abundance mindset thinking will help you manifest things that you can make happen today, and just don't take no for an answer. You know, just like you did, Sachin, you didn't take no for an answer, and you eventually stumbled upon me, and I helped you, helping you raise money, helping you guide all these things. Just don't take no for an answer. Start pursuing that.
Awesome. Well, I think last question. I think that was a great episode, but for the last question, what was your favorite part of being on the Ochakde show?
I mean, all of everything, man. I mean, the energy, the vibe, the discussion we're having, you know, we have a no holds barred discussion. You know, we're not talking about things that people don't want to hear. I hope the audience enjoys what they heard
No,
today,
no,
and
it was
hope,
awesome. It was
you
awesome.
know, they will find it valuable. So just being able to talk to your audience, being able to help you and see you succeed so much gives me an immense pleasure. And I'm here to help you and your audience in any capacity in the future as well. Don't call me, everybody, like Sachin did, but let me know if I can be of help.
Yeah, yeah. I won't leak your number to people. Don't worry. I won't do that. They have to find it themselves, or unless you removed it from that website. So,
That's right.
anyway, Sanchan, where can people find you online?
I have a YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn. So the real Sanchan is my handle on YouTube and Instagram. Follow me over there. The name was chosen very wisely. The real Sanchan. You only get the real shit from me, nothing else. So if you want to get candid advice on how to build a career, how to build a life, how to live a fulfilling and happy life, you can follow me and I'll share advice from you.
Great content, guys. I watch, and also he's a really good editor, so the editing is amazing. So it's really engaging. It's not just a video of somebody talking. So check it out, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. It's 2024. Make it your best year. Take Sunchan's advice. Go for it and rise high. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.